Have you ever wondered what really hides behind a smile? Behind the words, "I'm fine"? Every day, millions of people wake up wearing invisible armor, fighting battles no one can see. To the outside world, they seem normal. Inside, they're sinking, slowly, into something dark, heavy and silent. We call it depression. But what is it really? Is it sadness, or something deeper? Is it the brain that suffers, or the soul? For over a century, psychoanalysts have tried to answer these questions. Freud, Klein, Lacan, Winnicott, Jung, each looked into the human mind and saw depression not just as an illness, but as a message, a language of pain. A call from the unconscious whispering, "Look at what's missing. Look at what's been lost." This is not a story about weakness. It's a journey into the hidden places of the mind, where suffering meets meaning and darkness can sometimes lead to light. Join us as we travel beneath the silence. Chapter 1. The Shadow Within. What is depression? Depression is not just sadness. It's not simply feeling down after a bad day or losing motivation for a week. It's something deeper, heavier, like an invisible weight that slowly pulls life into silence. It's the moment when even small tasks feel impossible, when the world loses its color and time itself feels slow, almost frozen. But what is depression really? Is it a disease of the brain, a response to pain, or something that comes from much deeper within, from the soul itself? Modern psychiatry often describes depression through chemistry, imbalances, serotonin, medication, and yes, biology matters. But psychoanalysis invites us to look in another direction, toward the hidden stories that live inside us. Psychoanalysts believe that depression is not only a symptom but a message, a cry from the unconscious. It's the mind saying something vital has been lost. Sometimes that something is a person we loved. Sometimes it's a dream, an identity, or a part of ourselves we've abandoned. The psychoanalytic view asks, what happens inside us when we lose what we love? When the energy that once connected us to life turns inward, against the self? In this journey, we'll explore how thinkers like Freud, Klein, Lacan, Winnicott and Jung each tried to understand the human heart behind depression. They saw not only an illness, but a story of loss, longing and transformation. To understand depression is not just to study pain, it is to listen to what pain is trying to tell us. Chapter 2. Freud, Mourning and Melancholia. Sigmund Freud, one of the founders of psychoanalysis, studied how people deal with loss. He noticed that not all sadness is the same. The first type is mourning, the natural grief we feel when we lose someone or something important. It is painful, yes, but over time we begin to adjust. Even though we still miss what was lost, life continues and we can find joy again. The second type, which Freud called melancholia, is different and much deeper. Here, the person cannot let go of the pain. The suffering turns inward. The mind begins to criticize and punish itself, as if carrying guilt for something it did not do. Freud believed this happens when we lose something or someone very important, but cannot fully accept the loss. Sometimes we feel anger or resentment toward the person or situation we lost, but, without realizing it, we direct those feelings toward ourselves. We can think of melancholia as a broken mirror of loss. It is not just the absence of someone or something that hurts. It is the loss of part of our own sense of value, of what connected us to life and love. Freud showed that depression is not just ordinary sadness. It is a complex struggle inside the mind, between what we have lost and what we feel we should have been or done. And understanding this struggle is the first step toward finding paths to healing. Chapter 3. Melanie Klein, The Inner World and Early Loss. Melanie Klein took psychoanalysis a step further, focusing on the inner world of children. She believed that the way we experience loss and sadness begins very early in life, sometimes even before we fully understand the world. Klein introduced the idea of the depressive position. This is not depression in the usual sense, but a stage of emotional development where we start to recognize that the people we love are separate from us, with their own feelings and limitations. In this stage, children realize that they can feel both love and anger toward the same person. These mixed emotions can be confusing and frightening because we worry that our anger might harm the ones we love. Klein believed that these early experiences leave a lasting mark on our minds. When we grow up, adult depression can echo these childhood struggles, a sense of guilt, a fear of harming others, or the feeling that we are unworthy of love. She showed that depression is not only about events in the present, it can also be about the echoes of our earliest relationships, the first losses and fears we carried inside us. Understanding these inner experiences helps us see why depression can feel so deep and complex. It is not just sadness for what is lost in the world, but also for what we once needed, but did not fully receive in the very beginning of our lives. Chapter 4. Lacan, the lack, desire, and the real. Jacques Lacan was one of the most complex and poetic thinkers in psychoanalysis. He believed that depression is deeply connected to the way we experience desire and to what he called lack. Lacan said that from the moment we are born, something is missing inside us. We spend our whole lives searching for that missing piece, through love, success, approval, or meaning. This constant search is what creates our desires. But desire, according to Lacan, can never be completely satisfied. No person, no achievement, no possession can fill the inner emptiness we feel. When we lose touch with our desire, when we stop wanting, or feel that what we want no longer matters, life can start to lose its shape. This is where depression can appear, when the connection between ourselves and our desire breaks down. Lacan also spoke about the people, ideas, and systems around us that shape how we see ourselves. When we no longer feel recognized or valued by this other, we can feel invisible, like our existence no longer has meaning. For Lacan, this feeling of being unseen can be one of the deepest roots of depression. He also described a dimension called the real, the part of life that words and logic can't capture. Sometimes, when we face unbearable pain or emptiness, we come too close to this real. Language fails, meaning collapses, and we fall into silence, the silence of depression. Lacan didn't see depression as weakness, but as a crisis of meaning, a moment when our connection to desire and to others has broken. Healing, in his view, begins when we start to speak again, to rediscover what we truly want, and to reconnect with the part of ourselves that still longs for life. Chapter 5. Winnicott, the false self and the absence of holding. Donald Winnicott, a British psychoanalyst and pediatrician, brought a warm and deeply human view to the study of depression. He believed that our emotional health depends on something very simple, yet essential: feeling held. In the first years of life, a baby depends completely on the mother or primary caregiver, not only for food and safety, but for emotional connection. When a caregiver responds with love, attention, and consistency, the baby feels secure. This sense of being held, physically and emotionally, allows the child to build what Winnicott called a true self. But when that care is missing, unpredictable, or emotionally cold, the baby learns to adapt. Instead of expressing real feelings, the child starts to show only what others expect. They hide behind a mask to be loved or accepted. This mask, Winnicott called the false self. Over time, living behind this false self can lead to emptiness, a quiet sadness that has no clear cause. People who seem strong, kind, and even successful on the outside may, deep down, feel disconnected from who they really are. They may feel like they're acting through life, not living it. Winnicott believed that depression often appears when this false self can no longer hold everything together. It's as if the inner world collapses under the weight of pretending. But this collapse, painful as it is, can also open the door to truth. Healing, he said, begins when a person finds a new holding environment, a space, often in therapy, where they can finally be themselves without fear of rejection, where they can be seen, understood, and allowed to exist just as they are. For Winnicott, recovery is not about becoming perfect. It's about feeling real again. Chapter 6. Jung, the Descent and the Shadow. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, saw depression not only as a sickness but as a journey, a descent into the deeper layers of the self. He believed that within each of us lives a world much larger than we realize, a world of dreams, symbols, and forgotten truths. When we ignore this inner world for too long, the unconscious begins to call us back. And sometimes, it calls through depression. Jung described this process as meeting the shadow, the hidden side of our personality. The shadow is made up of everything we reject or deny in ourselves: anger, fear, weakness, pain, even our unlived potential. When we refuse to face these parts, they don't disappear. They sink into the unconscious and wait to be acknowledged. Depression, in Jung's view, can be a sign that the shadow is asking to be seen. It is the psyche's way of saying, stop, go inward. Something inside you needs attention. He compared this to a mythic descent, like a hero entering the underworld. It's dark, frightening, and uncertain. But in this darkness, we can find hidden treasures, new strength, new understanding, and a deeper connection with who we truly are. For Jung, the goal was not to escape the darkness, but to integrate it, to bring the shadow into the light of consciousness. Because when we face what we fear inside ourselves, we become more whole. In this sense, depression can be both a crisis and a possibility. It can destroy us, or, if we listen carefully, it can transform us. The descent into darkness may be painful, but it can lead to a new kind of life, one that feels more authentic, more awake, and more human. Chapter 7. The Modern Voices Psychoanalysis Today. Psychoanalysis continues to evolve. Even though it began more than a century ago, its questions about the human mind are more relevant than ever. Modern psychoanalysts no longer see depression only as an inner conflict from childhood or as a chemical imbalance in the brain. They see it as something that also reflects the world we live in, the pressure to be perfect, the fear of failure, the loneliness behind constant connection. We live in an age of noise and distraction. We scroll through lives that look happier than ours. We perform, we compare, we hide, and somewhere along the way, we lose the quiet space where our true feelings can breathe. Contemporary psychoanalysis tries to bring that space back. It invites people to slow down, to listen to themselves again, not to fix the pain right away, but to understand what it's trying to say. Some analysts now combine traditional psychoanalysis with insights from neuroscience, trauma studies, and attachment theory. They explore how our early experiences shape the brain's emotional wiring, and how relationships can heal what was once broken. Others look at the cultural side of depression, how society teaches us to hide weakness, to fear sadness, to chase constant happiness. In this view, depression becomes a kind of protest, the soul's refusal to keep pretending. The modern psychoanalytic perspective is not about labeling people as ill, it's about helping them rediscover meaning. Because even when depression makes life feel empty, the experience itself can reveal what truly matters, what we have lost, and what we still long for. In the end, psychoanalysis today is not about going backward into theory, it's about moving forward into understanding, toward a deeper, more compassionate view of what it means to be human. Chapter 8. Healing and the Analytic Encounter. Depression can feel endless, a silence that presses in from all sides. But psychoanalysis shows that healing is possible, not by avoiding the pain, but by meeting it directly. At the heart of this process is the therapeutic relationship, the space between the analyst and the person seeking help. Here, it is safe to speak, to feel, to be vulnerable. It is a place where hidden thoughts and emotions can finally be expressed without fear. Through careful listening, questions, and reflection, the analyst helps the person understand patterns that have shaped their inner world. Sometimes, old grief or guilt that was buried for years comes to light. Sometimes the person sees connections between past experiences and present feelings that they had never noticed. This encounter is not magic. There is no instant cure. But small shifts happen. The mind begins to reorganize itself. The weight of unspoken feelings lightens. Moments of insight, sudden clarity, recognition, or relief emerge like sparks in the dark. Healing is also about reconnecting with desire, the deep personal longing that gives life meaning. Psychoanalysis encourages people to reclaim what they truly want, what they truly feel, and to build a life aligned with their authentic self. In this way, depression is no longer just a shadow, but a teacher, guiding the person towards self-awareness, emotional growth, and connection. The analytic encounter reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone, and the path to understanding and healing is always possible. Chapter 9. Beyond the Abyss, Living with Depression. Depression is not always something that can be completely cured. For many, it becomes a part of life, a shadow that lingers, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly. But living with depression does not mean giving up. Those who have experienced it often speak of small victories, a morning when getting out of bed feels possible, a conversation that brings relief, a moment of laughter that breaks through the heaviness. Modern psychoanalysis reminds us that depression can also be a teacher. It forces us to confront what we have lost, what we fear, and what we truly need. It asks us to listen to ourselves, to our inner world, and to our desire for life. Living with depression means learning to hold space for yourself, to recognize the sadness, the emptiness, and even the guilt, without letting it define who you are. It means understanding that vulnerability is not weakness, and that asking for support is not failure. Many people find strength in connection, with others, with therapy, with art, or with nature. Small acts of care, consistency, and understanding slowly rebuild a sense of belonging and hope. In the end, Living with depression is about balance. It is about embracing the reality of pain, while also opening to moments of meaning, joy, and love. Depression may be part of the human experience, but it does not have the final word. Even in the darkness, life can be lived, felt, and cherished. Epilogue, the light beneath. Depression is a journey through darkness. It can feel endless, silent, and isolating. But as we have seen through the voices of Freud, Klein, Lacan, Winnicott, Jung, and modern psychoanalysts, there is always more beneath the silence, a path toward understanding, growth, and hope. Even in the deepest shadows, there is the possibility of light. The mind is resilient, the heart is resilient, and the human spirit can rediscover meaning, connection, and desire. If you are watching this and feeling the weight of depression, know this: you are not alone. There is help, and there are people who want to listen, understand, and support you. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of courage. Talk to a friend, a family member, or a professional. You deserve care, understanding, and hope. Depression may touch our lives, but it does not define us. Through listening, reflection, and connection, we can find our way back to life. And even in the silence, there is always the possibility of light. If you are struggling, please seek help. In the UK, you can call or text Samaritans at 116123. If you are elsewhere, local mental health services can guide you. Asking for support is the first step toward finding your light.